Do you speak English?
A little.
A little.
If I'll be walking alone in the streets, anybody could just like pick me up, like, hey, are you available?
And my family, Chrissy, when I met you, they were like, dude, what are you smoking? Like,
Do you remember the first time we met and then we passed this group of guys and they said something about me?
yeah, we walked past an automotive shop and the guys were on break. It was our first week together, almost 3 years ago exactly. And they shouted something. And I thought maybe they had said something not nice.
Yeah, they called me an easy money girl. You know, and during that time, I felt so embarrassed. I felt embarrassed not because of you, but because of what people were thinking about us. And I just realized that they don't know us, but they kind of like put a title on me already.
People like to judge and label. But you know what's really interesting, and I think everybody wants to know this, that didn't become our story, where people were judging and labeling and making us feel stink eye and uncomfortable. It was quite the opposite. Our 3 years together so far here in the Philippines.
And then we left the Philippines and everything changed again.
That's right, Chrissy. We just got back from a 5-country tour. We've shared with people our trip to Singapore, Thailand, and Taiwan. Today, we're going to tell you what happened when I went back to America for the first time in almost 3 years for a wedding, and I saw my family and how that went. And Chrissy, we're going to talk about your experience in Korea and in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, 2 very different countries where age gap is not as commonly accepted. And you mentioned how you were made to feel a little bit in Thailand, where people thought you were Thai, spoke to you in Thai. But let's go back and talk about that very first incident when that man barked at you, easy money girl.
There are a lot of situations and instances that I did not care to like tell you anymore, but I heard, especially in the first year of our relationship.
I thought this would be terrible to have to go through life every time you go to the mall, every time you go out to dinner, every time you go out in public, to have somebody either whistle at your girl or just say something rude. I haven't felt the stink eye at all. And we've shared that with you before. The Philippines, of all the countries on the planet, I think, will be the most accommodating for an age gap relationship. We have a 37-year.
Yeah.
Chrissy's about to turn 33 very soon, less than 10 days away.
Yeah.
And I am 69. And we were 66 and 29 when we met. And we quickly aged up after that. That's a big age gap. It's not a small age gap. And my family, Chrissy, when I met you, they were like, dude, what are you smoking? Like, you're out of your mind. Nobody was going to be in love with you. They're only going to be interested in your money. And Chrissy, we found out about 8 months ago that my youngest son was getting married. We assumed they would want you there. But you know what they say about assumptions. And then we found out about 4 months ago, and we had to make a decision like, okay, we're going to have to try and get a tourist visa. Even though we're married, only 26% get approved for married men. We have a friend who has a son, and his wife got turned down, and she owns a house, but she didn't have a job. She got turned down. So this is very important because there's a lot of visa scams and men who watch our channel who think that the girl they're talking to can get a visa, a tourist visa. It's almost impossible. And if you're not, even if you're married, it's only 26%. Yeah. But it's not impossible. We have very good friends, Dennis and Amy, but they seasoned their passport by traveling to other countries. So anyway, what happened? Chrissy, how did it make you feel when you found out you weren't invited to my son's wedding?
I thought that it's very hard for them to accept our relationship, especially we're in age gap. But then when we got married, I thought that it's the biggest step for us to be accepted and embraced normally as a couple in your family. But then it turned out that they still have in a very difficult situation also of accepting us. And I understand that because you know, what is not normal is not normal in your culture. And there's no quick way to change that.
And I understand that my son and his bride felt that you would be a distraction.
Yeah.
You would take some of the focus off them. Because in America, to see us as a couple, people don't see it every day like they do in Cagayan de Oro and Dumaguete, in Boracay, in Manila, and BGC. They don't see it. It's everywhere. Here in the Philippines, you'll see foreigners with their young Filipino wives almost every day when you're out and about. They don't see it. So if we showed up at the wedding, I think it would be quite distracting. So we didn't really hold a grudge. And I went alone. I had some business to take care of. I am happy to report that I got rid of my storage locker. And I want to shout out, I have one subscriber who helped me with accommodations. That was a major thank you. That was awesome. And another subscriber who took some furniture off my hands and helped me move it. And then another subscriber, we met up a few times for dinner and really enjoyed being back in America in that regard. However, I was under this false impression, Chrissy, that after almost 3 years of living our best life, I feel like I'm out here living my best life. And I just thought my family would not fully make it to the other end of embracing it, but some of the edge would be off. And what I found out was, having been gone almost 3 years, I took away the opportunity for them to give me negative feedback, for them to label, for them to judge. And for 3 years, they hadn't been able to tell me to my face that they think what I'm doing is a little odd or unusual or difficult for them, and that they feel a little abandoned. So because 3 years went by, and they weren't able to give me any negativity, I think a sharp stick in the eye was what they had in store for me. And, my kids and I were all getting along well, but they don't inquire about Chrissy. They don't ask about CJ and Precious, the 7 and 8 year old living with us. They don't really ask about my life in the Philippines. I know that sometimes they watch the YouTube channel. They won't admit it, but they know a little bit of what's going on. Yeah. But it was a difficult trip for me because I just felt like I was a little bit of an outcast. I hadn't transitioned to acceptance. And maybe if I go back once a year, the next time it'll be a little less and they'll be a little bit more accepting. But 3 years of living my best life, it just didn't get it done.
Yeah. I think, they're keeping up the rule of, if you have nothing good to say, just don't say it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. The weight of this feeling is really different when you're here in the Philippines and when you're back in the US. Like, for example, here in the Philippines, the burden is on me if I hear something, judgmental about a relationship, because I know the language, I know what they meant of the expression. And for you, I feel like we have different feelings. Like, if somebody will tell me I am an easy money girl, it is more that is very affecting towards me. Very offensive. Than your part. I think in your part, you will feel sorry about me because, I've been called like that.
Yeah.
But if we're in US as well, I will feel sorry about you because you are being judged by something, because, you had a relationship with a younger woman like me.
You know what's changing, Chrissy? And when we met, I was 66, had a little bit more hair. I'm 69, I'll be 70 in June. You're still ravishing. You're getting more beautiful every day. I'm getting older. And there's another phase of this age gap relationship that will eventually come. One day I'll turn 75. Now, we have a very good friend who's 75 and he's golfing and jogging and swimming and he looks great. But the average 75 looks a little bit frail and they're starting to show a little wear and tear. And, our future is one where when we travel and I'm 77 years old and you're just 40, we're going to get a little bit more of what we're talking about today. People are going to be looking at us a little bit odd. They won't know that we'll have been together 10, 15 years. And I'll be pretty darn old. Are you ready? Are you prepared for that?
Well, I was prepared for it even before meeting you. Because age gap relationship is there already. It was presented even before meeting us in person. And then it is expected that because we are looking long-term relationship. So it means you are seeing what is life in 10 years, what is life in 20 years. And I've seen it, I am seeing it. I'm aware. But then it's easy to handle the reality of age gap relationship when it's just the two of us.
Here in the Philippines.
Here in the Philippines. But with all the noise of other people telling us about negative things in the age gap relationships, it made it a little bit challenging, especially if you will be in a place where age gap relationship is not normal. And for me, it's also a shock because here in the Philippines, we're walking in the malls everywhere. They will look, but they will not make us feel that they're talking about us.
Yeah. So let's switch gears. We've already shared with people our trip to Thailand, where your sister got engaged in Singapore. We got a lot of grief for people thought we spent that kind of money. We were treated to 2 nights at the Marina Bay Sands for $1,500 a night. That was a treat, like a one-time proposal that your sister's boyfriend
has to splurge.
Decided to splurge, and that was a treat. We caught a lot of grief, like that was our budget. That's not our budget, okay? And we have some travel plans coming up, and we don't normally spend that way. In fact, we're going to a very nice beach resort where one of our subscribers got stuck with a reservation he couldn't use, and he paid some nice money for that place, and he offered it to us for a percentage of what he had to pay. He was allowed to transfer it to another name. So you're going to think we spend that kind of money the next trip we go on. But we're going back to Malaysia in the fall, and we loved Malaysia, and the food insane. So we are going back. But while we were there, I remember specifically, Chrissy, we were in the elevator, and there were 3 Mandarin-speaking young women in their late 20s, early 30s, and they looked at you, and they looked at me, and they immediately whispered, and then started to speak to each other in Mandarin.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, wow, they're really ballsy. What if we know Mandarin? What if we know Mandarin? But they just assumed we didn't. We don't know really what they were saying, but you were affected
And realized how polite and respectful Filipinos are. Because in the Philippines, I know that when we go somewhere, some people will see our age gap relationship. They can see it. They will look at us. I can see that they looked at us, but they don't talk to other people to show us that they were talking about us, or they laughed or something like that. But some particular country like Thailand, that is where almost all the time people will look at us. But
there's a lot of older Western men walking around with transactional
girlfriends,
easy money girls, basically.
Easy money girls. So here's the thing in Thailand, because that is where I really felt being disrespected and being judged in Thailand. Local people don't really laugh at you or look at you or judge you, because for them, it's like a normal thing that's going on in that place, but transactional, not a real relationship. That's what. So they will assume we are also transactional. So
you thought everybody just thought you were
transactional,
a freelancer.
Yeah, freelancer woman.
Yeah.
But the other Western especially young people, like maybe 40-year-old men and women, they will look at us, talk about us. They will point on, like they will talk to their friend, and then they will point at me and they will laugh. And then this other guy, I really remember, because you were putting sunscreen on my back, and he mimicked you putting sunscreen and laughed about it with the other guy. And I felt like maybe they were thinking I am a freelancer Thai woman, because every day people will talk to me in Thai.
Yes. Well, so Chrissy, this is a big issue. And, I finally kind of became aware of how sensitive you were. It happened a little bit. Our second stop in our 5-country tour of Southeast Asia was Jeju Island, South Korea. Now, this is a magical place. And by the way, you can take a Filipino to Jeju Island without a visa. And traveling to Japan and Korea, which are probably the number 1 and 2 places Filipinos want to go because of K-pop culture and Japanese food and things, it requires quite a bit of paperwork, and you do need a visa. It's kind of not worth the hassle in a way. But Jeju Island, you can fly into Jeju Island from a foreign country as long as you fly out to another foreign country or you transit through the mainland in less than 8 hours. But you can't go to Seoul or Busan with a Filipino without getting a visa. So we went to Jeju. It's kind of like the honeymoon island. It was still pretty cold. We got a really nice Airbnb with a great patio. And the temperatures, though, were like 55 degrees. And we took a day tour and we went to the ocean. You went and saw these great waterfalls. And there was lots to do. And I'm glad we went. And the food culture in Korea, we didn't do Korean barbecue, but we found a noodle shop and we found this amazing pancake shop.
Amazing.
Nicest decorated pancake shop I've ever seen. But to get back to this age gap,
I didn't see much in Korea.
Well, it was so cold. We didn't see a lot of people outside.
Yeah, of course. But we went to the restaurant. We went to the souvenir shop. Right. We went to the beach. We interact with Korean people.
But we were we were dressed in a more bundled up. Yeah, you weren't wearing a bodycon like Chrissy. You like to wear your hair down to the middle of your back, and you've got a bodycon that you want to go out. Everyone's going out. We don't drink, but you like to dress.
Who would want to wear heavy materials in Thailand? It was so hot.
Yeah, and you know. Anyway, so in Korea, I think it was more conservative. We spent more time in cars. We spent more time in individual restaurants. We didn't spend too much time where you're wearing kind of, lighter weight clothing. But what is your overall impression of Jeju Island?
It's a very laid back city. I like it because it wasn't too, it was too cold for me, but not really like freezing cold. I like it. It's very relaxing. The food is just so good.
Yeah, every Uber was like brand new.
Yeah.
You couldn't find a speck of dust in any Uber. The roads, it is a very organized country. Koreans take everything very seriously, and they are dressed carefully. The Airbnbs are decorated carefully. The way they prepare their food it's multiple side dishes. Really amazing. I've been to Seoul before, and that was the Korean bakeries. If you ever experienced a Korean bakery, it's crazy how they put so much care and effort into each item. So Chrissy, in Jeju, it wasn't too bad. But I guess the point we're trying to make is, we've planned 2 additional trips. One, I mentioned we're going to get this resort at a somewhat of a discount because our friend couldn't get his money back. But we are planning to go back to Malaysia, where we just came from Kuala Lumpur, our last stop, and talk about clean and organized. But really, I want to get to the point that we had to decide where are we going to go next, because I don't want to take Chrissy someplace where she's going to get a lot of stink eye and she's going to be uncomfortable. And, if her passport was such that we could go to Europe, I would love to show Chrissy Rome and Venice and take her to the Costa del Sol. One day. But boy, oh boy, if I'm 73 and Chrissy's 36, we're going to get a lot of stink eye in these places.
I know, but I think it's the first time that I experienced that being laughed and looked in a very malicious way abroad.
Yeah.
So it's, the first time is always the difficult time, the difficult stage. But if I'll get used to it,
and we decided we are going back to Malaysia. Now, Malaysia is a predominantly Muslim country, but Kuala Lumpur is 50-50. There's a really large ethnic Chinese population. And I got to tell you, I've been to 60 countries, Chrissy. And it was an hour drive on a super interstate. I didn't see one piece of litter. I didn't see one disorganized construction scene. I didn't see one dog. I didn't see one chicken. I didn't see traffic. And we were on the 30th floor of this beautiful condominium for dirt cheap. I mean, it is so reasonable. The cost of Airbnb, it is so reasonable. There are a few things that are expensive in Malaysia. Alcohol is very expensive there, but we don't drink. But it was the most organized, nicest capital I think I've ever been to in Asia.
So far.
What did you think? I mean, coming from the Philippines, where the infrastructure is really questionable and the food can be challenging for Westerners, what did you think of like the night market and the food court on Allura Street, Julan Allure. What did you think of the foods there? It was even after coming from Thailand, where the food was insane.
Yeah.
The street food and the restaurant food that we had there.
Yeah. You know, I've never been into a real street food in Thailand because we went to a provincial part of Thailand, which is
Phuket. Not really provincial, but yeah.
Yeah. Compared to Bangkok or somewhere in Thailand that is, you know, prominent with their street foods. I enjoy the street food in Malaysia better than Thailand.
Better than Thailand. And, you know, we told people about the Indian restaurant in Thailand, the burger from Australian beef. We told them about the Thai restaurant, and I love Thai. I was blown away by the street food and the restaurant, the quality of the food in Malaysia. And so we're going to go back to Georgetown next time, which is the food capital of Malaysia, and also go to another beach, Langkawi, in the fall. And we decided, okay, it's, you know, a predominantly Muslim country and an age gap relationship walking around in that society with a beautiful Filipina. You were going to get some stares, but they're more polite. I think they were a little bit more polite.
Yeah, in Korea, like what I've found that is, you know, shared common culture in Korea and Philippines is they're very polite, very respectful, as well as in Malaysia.
Yeah.
Because I really got just distinct. Actually, in Thailand, people in Thailand are very polite as well. They're very happy.
Well,
they're just very happy
zen,
people.
Yeah.
It's just that
the foreigners, the backpack foreigners.
Yeah, it's just that this particular area is full of foreigners.
Yeah,
and I get the stink eye, I get the love and the judgment, not from the Thai people, but from the foreigners. So should I share with them what happened? There's one night that we were coming out from the beach, because every day we went to the beach because it's very, very beautiful. And of course, I'll be wearing my swimsuit, of course.
She was wearing a bikini.
Yes, with
Thailand.
cover up.
Yeah, cover up. Okay.
Yeah, with a cover up. I don't just walk, you know, like with bikinis and all that.
Well, there was one woman going topless.
And so then we went back to our Airbnb, and on the parking lot, there's this Thai guard that was like talking to this drunk Korean. I think he's a Korean man. And then the Thai guard talked to me like, you know, something in Thai. And I was like, what do you want to say? And he's pointing out the Korean. And I think what he meant is that if I am a freelancer,
if you're available.
If I am available to take care of this Korean man, I was like, I'm so sorry, I'm not Thai. And oh, sorry. So that time I was like, if I'll be walking alone in the streets, anybody could just like pick me up, like, hey, are you available? Like, I'm not Thai, you know?
So have you taken your age gap relationship on the road? Have you experienced some of the stink eye and some of the judgment and labeling? Have you been made to feel uncomfortable? Has your Filipina ever told you she doesn't want to go back to some of these countries? Maybe she went to Japan, maybe she went to Korea, maybe you took her to Europe. Comment below. I'd be interested in hearing about it. And Chrissy, you have launched a business to do social media reviews, a comprehensive review of women's social media. And you're finding 12 different Facebook pages, TikTok pages where the women are twerking, women who are still married, women who have unknown children. And we've told men, not only don't just think about your age gap, but think about whether you're in a transactional relationship, whether you're sending money to the Philippines when you shouldn't be, and whether you have the skills and knowledge to do a social media review before proceeding. And there's a link in the description box, and you can take this relationship assessment test. Now, Chrissy, they can just scan this barcode, this QR code. And how many questions are there?
41 questions.
41. Now, this is like a comprehensive assessment tool, right?
Well, it is a tool that will tell you what status of your relationship you are. If you are in a real relationship, or you are in a survival mode relationship, or if you are the target of an organized crime or a solo crime, because not all scammers are like doing it in a group.
And Chrissy, we started offering these 4 to 6 hour social media reviews. You put in 4 to 6 hours over 3 or 4 days. Only 40% of the women pass. There's negative material in the file for 6 out of 10, these reviews. And the one thing that we can share with you after doing these for 6 months and having consulted with over 700 men at this point, lack of quality, consistent video chat is not just a red flag. It is like that red lava coming out of the volcano, right?
Red flag on fire.
Red flag on fire. And of course, don't send money until you meet the woman, no matter what, right?
Yeah.
That's going to lose you a lot of points on that assessment test.
Yeah. So we're not saying that all of the Filipinas are into real relationship or looking for real relationship. There are so many easy money girls as well. Like, you have to figure out if the woman is looking for real love, or they're looking for or they're in a survival mode and they're looking for somebody that can save them from that mode, you know? So just email us at Fly Me to the Philippines if you need our help, and I can help you finding out what status you are in your relationship, or if you are talking to a real Filipina, a real person.
And I, as your big brother, I say never get on the plane without having done a full social media review. It's going to be a fraction of what you spent to come see that woman. And it would just be a shame for every one of her relatives and friends and the public to know a lot of alarming things that you have no knowledge of, that she didn't share with you. And you're starting to support her, and you're starting to gift her, and you're starting to meet her family. And like I said, Chrissy, you're doing 6 of these. We can only do 1 a day, and you can only do 6 a week. And that's 4 to 6 hours per file. So it's a lot of work. And Chrissy only works an hour a day on each file usually, and comes back with fresh eyes the next day into the review that she finds really damaging information. It doesn't pop right out the first hour or two. It takes a special skill, a knowledge of the language. Anyway, if you are already pursuing an age gap relationship and you think you might be onto a keeper, this is a really good way to get the confidence you need to move forward. So comment below about your age gap relationship. Did you ever look at her social media? Did you ever get stink eye when you were in the Philippines? Have you traveled with your younger age gap relationship and experienced anything like we have? And where do you think we should travel next, other than these countries where we'll be accepted the most? We're going to show you some additional footage of Kuala Lumpur and Jeju Island, Korea. If you get a chance, I highly recommend you go to Kuala Lumpur. You see Malaysia. The dollar goes far there. So here's some footage of Malaysia, the night market, the condo, and then some more of the waterfalls and walking around Jeju Island and the amazing noodle shop we went to. That was the best kimchi we ever had, right? Everything was great. So some additional footage on the way out. Till next time.
Only here from Fly Me to the Philippines.
Chrissy, where are we?
Okay.
We're here in Jeju Island, South Korea.
We have all kinds of food here. We came to a noodle house in Korea. And Chrissy, what do you have to say about it?
I have nothing to say but
Kamsamida.
eat.
Kamsamida, that's what you say.
Kamsahamnida.
Wow, what a view, Chrissy.
Yes.
Amazing.
What's going on? You went on a hike?
Yeah.
Is you gonna eat that all yourself?
No, this is yours.
Oh, I already ate
Very
one.
cute.
Thank you. You look great.
Well, we've just arrived. Chrissy, where are we?
Welcome to Malaysia.
Welcome to Malaysia. Okay, Chrissy, this is like the national dish.
Yeah.
Nasi lemak. We're here at the base of the Petronas Towers. Look at that.
Yeah. Look at that, I can see my tongue now.
Yeah, Chrissy's worried about getting browned. Look, we're here at KLCC Park, which is the city park. Oh, look, Filipinas. Ma'am, I'm here, and my professor told me I needed to find somebody who speaks English. Do you speak English?
A little.
A little.
Yeah. I'm from Thailand.
You from Thailand?
Yes, sir.
Kapkung krap satika. How was Thailand? So let's talk about this trip.
Yeah.
We started in Taiwan. We went to Korea,
Yeah.
Jeju Island. From Jeju Island, we went to Singapore. And we were treated for 2 nights at the Marina Bay Sands.
Yes.
$1,500 a night. Holy cow. And your sister got engaged. And then we went for 5 nights in
Thailand.
Thailand, Phuket, specifically
Patong Beach.
Patong Tower, Patong Beach. And now we're here in Kuala Lumpur. And ever since we hit Korea, the food, actually the whole trip.
Yeah, the whole trip is
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, each country has its highlight of the place and highlight of the food. And it's not fair if you're gonna compare everything, because each country have different taste, you know, different amazing places to visit.
What's
Like,
your favorite so far?
it's hard to say when it comes to like city. I think Singapore is just too expensive. Like,
Yes.
it's given that it would be nice because it's really a dollar country, you know?
Yes.
But the Taiwan and Kuala Lumpur is like it's like high when it comes to like big city,
Yeah.
cleanliness, organized city. When it comes to beach, of course, Thailand.
Thailand.
Yeah, which country could compete on Thailand? And then when it comes to like the very secluded area where you can relax, well, most of the time we spent inside the house because it was cold in Korea.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like the native, the provincial feeling.
Yeah.
I like the Korea better. That's why I said, in each country, I feel like there's each highlight of it.
You know, the food was spectacular in Taiwan, and then we got to Korea, and we
Korea.
love
Oh,
Korean
yeah.
food, and we found this noodle house, and then we thought, oh my God, the food in Korea is so good. And then we went to Singapore, and that was all about luxury, and we had that amazing Japanese dinner with the Wagyu beef and all kinds of, just a splurge. Thank you to your sister's boyfriend. And then we went, the food in Phuket was crazy. We had an Indian restaurant, which is like the best food we've ever eaten. We had a burger joint. That Australian beef was insane. We found a Thai restaurant. We went 3 times. We thought we'd paid real gold, and ever since we got here to Kuala Lumpur, holy cow! It's like almost
Everything's good, even the street food.
even the street food.
So I like, one of the things that I like here in Kuala Lumpur is their street food. It's very organized. It's not dirty. You
Yeah.
know, like it's street food, but you will not doubt the food. 'cause
Yeah, the
it's all
cleanliness
clean. I
and
don't see any
refrigeration.
fly.
Yeah.
And also, but despite of all the luxurious things that we found in each country, I still like to go home to the Philippines,
Yeah.
my country.
Okay, so if you could only come back to one place,
One place only.
and Singapore's kind of forget it because
Yeah,
we
it's
got
just
treated
so
to that hotel
yeah,
at the
it's so
Marina Bay
expensive.
Sands, $1,500 a night.
Just one,
Yeah,
really?
what? Where could you go? Where would you
I'll
go if you
go
could only go
back.
back to one?
I think I'll go back in Thailand. It's
Thailand.
cheap
You get the
and-
beach and it's
yeah,
cheap.
The beach, cheap, food,
Food is amazing.
yeah, quality of you know, of the road is really nice
Yeah.
in Thailand.
I think
Like you mentioned that Thailand is a developing country, but when I looked at it, it's just like I can't believe it. You
the
know?
infrastructure is a
Yeah.
step up from
I mean,
the
the
Philippines.
zoning of the roads is
Yeah.
just spectacular.
Yeah,
So,
but here
yeah.
in KL, like with the freeway into town, the roads, there's no traffic, the modernness of everything. It's just, if I wanted to come for a getaway, a food getaway, I'd come here. This is cheap. I mean, you can get
The
a
good thing about Taiwan, Singapore, and Kuala Lumpur, you're not gonna have difficulty when it comes to communication with people.
Right.
They all speak English.
Yes.
We had difficulty both in Thailand and
And
in
Korea, yeah.
And if I want to go back in a place where it's secluded, cold, we're not gonna be, you know, hit by too much sun, I would maybe pick Korea for that.
yeah. Well, we love Korean culture. You know, Chrissy, I think if it was just a getaway, a food getaway, no beach, I'd come to. You can get an Airbnb here for $35, $45 a night all day long. Beautiful, beautiful. And it's just so organized. The weather tends to be hot and humid here, although right now we're sitting in this park. It's quite pleasant in the shade.
It's windy.
A little breeze.
Thank you for joining us in this vacation. See you in the Philippines.